Hey YouTube, what's going on, and welcome to a very special video of mine where today we're going to be taking a look at my experience in the Snapdragon Pro Series. We're going to be seeing my thoughts as I was racing, maybe some inside knowledge about the competition, so I really hope you guys enjoy. Let's get into the video.
This one, we jumped into iOS and there were a lot of unfamiliar faces, as our experts let us know. But Elite Joe, Pickle, Diesel Dragon, CJ, Marf, we did this once before, you and I. And we saw these names.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. This is going to be one heck of a ride. There is so much history in this bracket. We'll go over what's going on with the league.
And actually, a fun fact is that through all 3 seasons of the Snapdragon Pro Series so far, it's only been us 4 competing against each other in Android NA. So yeah, I guess you could say we know each other pretty well.
Well, right away, Joe finds himself in a pickle, or at least across the way from a player named Pickle. Same club as Al. Al won the iOS, and now Pickle here in the same RPM club as the iOS victor. Going up against Elite Joe here, Furum. Elite Joe, a tough competitor for sure, but Pickle, not exactly a slouch either.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pickle was a runner-up in the 3rd season, and I believe he was the 3rd place finisher in the 1st season as well. So he is certainly not new to the Mobile Open. And we see here his qualifying run.
Greenland, U.S. Midwest, and San Francisco if we need it. Marf.
I remember first looking at the tracks list and I was feeling super stressed because Airport Escape, Covered Bridge, these tracks are super rare in the game. Like, you might only see them every so often in, like, TLEs, or, like, you won't even see them in multiplayer. You won't see them in career, really. And so I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but luckily I did get a chance to practice these tracks a little bit with Dragon before we started. And as you'll see, I think that helped a little bit.
Pickle versus Elite Joe. Marf and Furum are your casters, and I'll see you later.
Oh man, I remember being super nervous before this match started because we were held in that lobby for quite a while. You know, my heart started pumping a lot, my nerves were building up. You know, usually I'm pretty good at dealing with pressure, so what I'd tell myself there is, you know, this is the most nervous you're going to be today. As the races go on, you're going to relax more, you're going to just go with the flow. So I was telling myself, you know, it's okay to be nervous right now and just make sure to let that tension go as the races keep moving forward.
Oh, this is going to be a spicy match. Hopefully this pickle's got some seasoning on it, been sitting there ready to be plucked out into a tournament environment as we go onto Greenland. We've seen this track many times before, and Elite Joe is going to start out underneath, hitting the side of the wall.
Yeah, so right away, Elite Joe coming in with a big mistake. And I remember in the moment, I was feeling so happy that I practiced this track before because this exact thing happened to me on my first try. And I knew how to avoid it, and Elite Joe just didn't. And so basically what happened is Elite Joe started his 360 way too late, didn't get time for the gust to pick him up, and I knew to start my 360s earlier, get 2 360s, and that's why it didn't happen to me. So unfortunate for Elite Joe, and that was pretty much smooth sailing for me at that point.
I mean, honestly, at this point, I would expect that Pickle would take this.
So right here, you know, as I said, smooth sailing. I'm just taking it easy, not going for any tricks like avoiding that barrel as you saw. Don't want to risk anything. However, in a second you'll see, I did have one close call.
Too surprised if we see these races fold out similarly to. Oh, that was very close.
Yep.
Pickle very.
Not exactly sure why that happened, but just barely avoided that wreck.
And you know, they're back into their element. And speaking of second race, we are going to the U.S. Midwest. Elite Joe and Pickle trying to make sure that they don't fall to that lower bracket, and both in the Remax Nevera flying off into these barrel rolls onto the warehouse, and an early lead for Elite.
Yeah, so it might have been easy to miss, but actually what happened there is I hit one of the traffic cars, which slowed me down a lot, and that's why Elite Joe had that big lead. What I was trying to do, I was trying to push Elite Joe away from that inside route where the traffic was, because I was anticipating him trying to get into that route because it does kind of give you an advantage if you can get on the inside. But in hindsight, I probably should have just like been there to not give him the incentive to try to push into that route and not been so aggressive, because that ultimately was my downfall in this race. And from this point on, I just couldn't catch up to Joe.
Yeah, he still has the opportunity to catch up if Elite Joe makes
yeah, so you can see there, just making a few mistakes.
It's pretty unlikely that's going to happen.
Could be a combination of nerves. You know, the track is also not very familiar to me, so it's really hard for me to race cleanly here.
Pickle is still not giving up.
But the gap between me and Joe was mostly similar until this point.
I think the Android players are very determined.
But then here, I didn't really need to do a punch there, and I went just a bit wide and hit that wall there. And then, yeah, then I was really slowed down. You could see the gap is a lot wider here.
So I think now it's pretty much.
So yeah, I didn't really have a good chance to catch up.
You know, I think that if he really wants a chance,
okay, here we go, race 3 with Joe in the semifinal.
In this final race,
here, I try to be a little bit aggressive at the start, get that inside line.
Because as we've seen,
right here it's super tight. You don't want to be side by side there.
Of course, no slouch, though, taking a very early lead against Elite Joe, and I think this one is shaping up to be incredibly close.
A bit of an accidental 360 there, but disguised as a floaty, so I don't think anyone really noticed that.
Second lap coming up here soon.
Oh yeah, that was fun to watch. I think
so right there, I was trying to 360, but Joe actually blocked it there. So it didn't have quite enough nitro, because I also missed the nitro bottle, but I just managed to squeeze by. I was going to do everything I could to maintain this lead.
A lot of left side moves, very fun to watch. Bit of an extra 360 for some extra.
Then we had that happen, which crushed my hopes there. I initially wasn't sure if it was intentional or not. Like, I wasn't even sure what happened. I was driving, then all of a sudden I just exploded. But watching it back, then I thought maybe it was intentional because he did use perfect nitro into that corner, which you normally don't do. But then when I looked at it more carefully, he did go very tight into that corner. So it's possible that he was just trying to pass me on the inside. Still not exactly sure, but I'm leaning towards it being more unintentional. And he was just trying to sort of like push me aside to get into the inside. Not really going for an intentional knockdown there, but yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it went.
But yeah, two very consistent players coming up against one another.
So here we go in a race against CJ, the lower bracket.
Is the bread and butter of Asphalt 9 esports. All of these tracks are 5 years old. Pickle missing the barrel.
Mistake there. See, didn't get any barrels, but CJ with the 360s there.
CJ is going to cost him that lead. He had the initial
so it evened out a little bit. Super close through there. I just managed to squeeze by ahead, but then I hit the inside there. And CJ was able to pass me. So a very interesting start. They had a lot to go through, but basically I was super stressed out for this track because I knew that the start is crucial. There's so many little precise things you need to do. And I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do them. I sometimes struggle there. As you saw, missing the barrel. I was a bit lucky that CJ also made a bit of a mistake, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, ultimately we came out pretty close side by side. So this is part of the race where it gets a little bit interesting. CJ goes a little bit too high on that barrel, and now I have caught up to him a little bit. I was thinking I could pass him here, but I just didn't get a good enough turn to be able to do that. So I was thinking maybe on the next one, but then he just pushes me off to the side and was trying to recover. So here I went for a bit of a speed trick and managed to get it and caught up right back again to him. He makes a bit of a mistake there, and here the knockdown comes. Super unfortunate, but let's break down that. So basically, at this point in the moment, I didn't even notice him really making that mistake where he hit that wall and slowed down. I was just seeing, you know, I'm catching up to him. What am I going to do here? I saw he was in a position where it would be an easy sort of knockdown from the top. That's what I thought I could do. You know, usually I'm not the kind of player that intentionally goes for knockdowns, but if the opportunity comes, you know, it would be worth going for usually. You know, there's money on the line. So that's the sort of thing going through your head, you know, this could be what you need to do for the win. But unfortunately for me, he was doing 360s at the time, so that knockdown attempt didn't go so well for me.
CJ, he does have the early advantage here. Will Pickle make the reverse sweep? I'm always looking for a reverse sweep, man. I'm trying to manifest it from my mind because I don't believe we've seen one yet today. I could be wrong on that, but reverse sweeps are always fun to see in esports. So hopefully Pickle has what it takes.
So here we go, race against CJ. The start wasn't too interesting, but here I am just a little bit behind. Really nice floaties in this race, I gotta say. I was pretty happy with how this one went.
There they go. They both did a floaty drift on the same turn. Again,
so here it's a bit interesting. We take a bit different routes. I go to the right, which I know is faster.
routes.
He didn't do too badly on the left either. I think he made a little bit of a mistake with that 360. I'm pretty sure that was by accident. So I caught up with him a lot there. Now we're neck and neck.
Both doing helicopter
like Marv says.
Pickle, is he gonna take it? Oh, trying to go on the inside line. CJ, I believe.
Actually, right there on my screen, he wrecked, but can't see that on this view. But it was sort of like a bad connection thing. Okay, so here we go, the big moment.
Oh, are we? Pickle's gonna overtake, shove him into the other route there. That was an incredible move by Pickle to try and block CJ's route. That's gonna cost him.
And that was the crucial moment that led to the win. But actually, what's very interesting here is that on my screen it looked completely different. So the thing is here, I've raced CJ before, I know how it goes. CJ doesn't have the best connection. He's always kind of struggled with that. And so what happens for other players is that sometimes he does a little bit sort of like unpredictable things, and he isn't really exactly in the same position that he is on his screen. So for me, actually, in that place, it looks like I was pushing him from the left, like to his right. But in reality, on my screen, he was on my left and he was pushing me, and I was trying to like escape that. So I was like trying to get over to the left to make sure that I wouldn't wreck into that wall. But it looked like it was the other way around. It looked like I was pushing him. So, you know, the commentators all thought I was doing something really slick there, which is cool. I'm glad that looked entertaining, but it was actually completely different.
Yeah, honestly, that is one of the best plays I've seen so far. I don't know if it was intentional or
Thanks
not.
For him. Not fully intentional, though. Yeah, so as you can see, going for a bit of a safer route there. Didn't want to screw anything up because CJ was still pretty close to me. Was still going through with some pretty good floaties. Yeah, I was a bit nervous to go for this right route, but didn't want to change up my strategy too much. But I did avoid that ramp just to make sure nothing weird happened. Okay, so here we go. Third race against CJ. The tiebreaker race. So you can, it's actually very subtle. Can't really see here, but on my screen, CJ was actually really slow in front of me and pushing me backwards. And again, I think it's that sort of bad connection thing going on. And you can see on the mini-map, I'm so far behind for no apparent reason. And no one really could have picked up on that, so that's why I'm sharing that with you today. So now I'm on the catch-up, but I did do pretty well to catch up with him here, pretty quick. You can see the gap is closing pretty fast.
Probably want to avoid that altogether.
So this is where it all goes down.
The name of the game is getting ahead as soon as possible and as
you can see CJ going for the 360s, and
he achieved that before Pickle,
super unfortunate.
Right
I myself almost wrecked, just went a little bit too far to the right, but I managed to control it. Unfortunately for CJ, he got a weird 360 timing where it was sort of like pointed to the right and sort of moved him too far to the right, and he just collided with that barrier. So really unfortunate for him. Would have been interesting to see how this race went. I was catching up to him here. Was close to creating an overtake here. But yeah, unfortunate end to the race.
Yeah, and Pickle taking the turn, I mean, with ease. You can see him drifting around there. No issues at all. Oh, wait. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not. He just did a 360 after the turn there. I mean, at this point...
Yeah, I was really hoping that the screen wouldn't be on me at that time. A bit of a awkward accidental 360 that Firm definitely picked up on.
I'm excited to kind of jump on in and see where this is going. I'm glad Pickle is still here, because that means we're going to get at least 27 more fun Pickle jokes out of Marv. So that's
glad that they had a lot of fun with my name. That was cool.
Getting. And I know what you.
We're gonna get right into this spicy action as soon as possible. Be sure to not miss it, guys.
So first race with Diesel Dragon.
For Asphalt 9 action, and here we go. Pickle versus
my approach here was trying to be a little bit aggressive. I wanted to get up ahead because I know if Diesel Dragon takes the lead, it can be hard to get it back from him. But he did very well defending against me here, not letting me overtake at all. So it blocked me off twice there, and here I thought it might be a good opportunity to land on him, but he defended it again and blocked me off there. And that moment right there pretty much set up the rest of the race, because that put him pretty far ahead. It was really hard for me to catch him after that. And right there, you can see a bit of an overspin there. Got a bit of a mini heart attack. Honestly was pretty sure I wouldn't be able to catch that 360, but I just managed to. That avoided a potential disaster there. So yeah, the rest of the race I was really trying to catch him, but like I thought it would be, it was just really hard to. And yeah, we pretty much stayed at the exact same distance away from each other through the whole race, even though my second lap was a little bit better. It was just not enough. So I finished around like half a second behind him in the end.
And one of the most consistent out of everybody. Has he made really any mistake
at all? Okay, so
far?
here we go, final race.
But here we're moving on to our
this one's a little bit tough for me because I really think I could have done better here. Problem for me was my route choices were not the best. As you can see, there are two places where I changed it up compared to Dragon. That was the first right there. And here I almost wrecked. Almost missed that barrel. That would have been a wreck. And there, that writing on the air, it's a bit of a bug. Because they don't show the road that falls there. So, something I might want to fix up. But here also, I took the bottom route. I saw a different player in a different matchup take that route, and I thought it might be better. But it turns out it wasn't. It was just because the other player wasn't doing the top route correctly. I should have probably been more confident in my route choice beforehand, or rather than trying to change it based on what I saw other people do. And I think that's what Dragon did better than me in that one. So here finishing it up, wasn't really able to close much of a distance between myself and Dragon, and that was it for me. But you know, not feeling too bad with how it went overall. I think I gave some pretty entertaining races, and third place isn't too bad, especially coming up against Dragon, a player who I know is very consistent. I knew it would be difficult. But one very interesting thing is that I was really hoping that I could take it to a race 3 at least, because I know that on that race 3, Dragon is not very good at Buenos Aires, and I thought it would most likely be a win for me. So a bit unfortunate that I just wasn't able to do that, because I think if I just won one of these races, I definitely could have made it to the final. But you know, that's just how it goes. Wasn't able to do it this time, but still happy overall. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help me out, so thank you so much for the support. I'll see you guys next time.